Good morning and welcome to Doha. Welcome to the Aspire Academy and day 6 of Bayern Munich's mid-season winter training camp. Doesn't look much like winter, but Bayern are indeed preparing for the second half of the season. 2 training sessions remain following this one tonight, a non-public, more tactical training session, and then tomorrow, just before Bayern Munich fly back to a very cold and wet Munich, is a final training session, and then Pep Guardiola and his team return to Bavaria. So far, we've had the opportunity to talk to the coaching staff, the medical staff, the physiotherapists. Everyone's been very happy with the overall team performance. Fortunately, and that's always one of the most important aspects, of course, no player sustained any even minor injury during this training camp. On the contrary, we have a couple of players who have returned to the full squad, and a few injured players who have used the opportunity here to use these ideal facilities at the Aspire Academy, the world's largest training facility, to work on their comeback. We'll talk about them as we go along. Today we will have the Bayern team again conduct a physical training session here in front of several fans. I've had the opportunity to look around, a lot of local fans here. A few fans have made their way from Germany, as always. Some die-hard fans have come here to watch their stars, their darlings, train here today, and you're watching the team warm up here again at this beautiful Aspire Academy with these perfect pitches. In the press conference, some of which you might have caught in the last few days, the players have commented on just how good and how fun it is to train here. Again, in Munich we'll have fairly very different conditions. The pitch should be in good shape, of course. The training pitches at Munich Street are heated and are therefore usually in a very good condition, but the weather, of course, is very pleasant here and ideal. Whole training group are warming up here with fitness coach Kornmeier. We'll see 10-15 minutes of this, then probably a little bit of what has come to be known as a rondo, the 5 against 2 passing exercise, and then we'll watch a few more specialized specific exercises as we go along. So let's take a look at this team. You can see in this training group that Arjen Robben and David Alaba are back in training, and that's of course the best news probably of the entire week. Robben and Alaba have been working hard on their comeback, not only in the last couple of days but in recent weeks, and now they're back in full team training, and it's good to see that after they already celebrated their training comeback yesterday, they're indeed fit and able to conduct this training session here today. So we're all very hopeful that they'll be able to keep going. Arjen Robben, for instance, in the evening training session yesterday, did not take part in one of the tactical game or match exercises. Instead, he ran a few more laps with the physical coaches. So Bayern are careful not to take too many risks there, not to increase the strain on Arjen Robben too quickly. Alaba, we all expected that, is already a little further along in his recovery program, and he's hopeful, as he confirmed yesterday, that he'll be able to stay with the team from now on and conduct every training session fully. So let's have a look at the next few minutes of a warm-up program here. Let's have a look at the stars as they warm up, as they get ready for a full team training session here in what I assume is about 25 degrees Celsius. So a pleasant, but in the sun, very hot Aspire Academy. So, Robert, ich nehme an, du hörst mir jetzt auch über dieses Gerät. Mach doch mal eine Minute hier noch diese Spiele und dann mach doch mal einen Schwenk von diesem Kletterpark und vielleicht vom Hotel hierher, so in einer Minute oder zwei. Und dann rede ich ein bisschen mehr über die Aspire Academy und dass da auch andere Mannschaften trainieren. Ich schaue auf den Bildschirm, achte drauf. You're looking at part of the Aspire Academy, as mentioned earlier, the largest training facility in the world. The Under 23 Asian Football Championships are taking place here. They will begin tomorrow, and so the team hotel that you just saw is shared by Bayern Munich with the Japanese Under 23 team. 16 young and talented teams are competing for the title in the Under 23 Asian Football Championships, and the Aspire Academy host to several of them. Bayern Munich have brought their mascot here as well, another treat for the fans. But again, looking at these training pitches, looking at the condition they're in, it's evident this is all about hard work. We had the opportunity yesterday to talk to a couple of players. Sebastian Rode was honest enough to admit that after a couple of days of training, and he wasn't the only one, that the thighs do start burning a little bit. 2 training sessions a day, with the exception of Saturday, where the players enjoyed a day off. And everyone really we talked to, Manuel Neuer, Jerome Boateng, Philipp Lahm, Xabi Alonso, all of the players that were in press conferences or that we had the opportunity to talk to in individual interviews, confirmed that training has been hard, and training has also been fun though, and that they're all quite happy with the fact that the foundation is being laid here for a successful second half of the season. For players, of course, like Xabi Alonso, like Thiago, it's not a complete novelty, but it's still a welcome and fairly unusual break to enjoy this winter break. 6 weeks of a break from competitive football, at least for the fans. The players really enjoy more like 10 days or 2 weeks of spare time, but even then, of course, players have individual training programs that they adhere to, or in the case of players like Xabi Alonso, like Arjen Robben, I assume that they have individual training programs, and I know in fact that they do have individual training programs. Not that that's necessary. We had the opportunity to talk to a lot of the staff here in the last couple of days, and everyone's not only very happy with how the team is joining in, how the team is prepared and willing to really push the limits here in this training camp, but the staff commented on how easy really it is to work with these players on this level, everyone knows that you have to not only do your best on the pitch in training and in matches, but you have to live a professional life. And if you want to play on this level, that's something that the players know is absolutely crucial and necessary. When you think about things like sleeping and like nutrition, it's very easy to handle these players because they know just how important every aspect, not only of the game but of professional life is. And of course these players by far and large have also all experienced injuries in their career life, and know how fortunate they are not only to be able to make a living off of this game, but also to be able to train with the team rather than work like, for instance, Mario Götze, like for instance Franck Ribéry or Mehdi Benatia are working right now, twice a day in the gym, on bikes, on the treadmills, in swimming pools, pretty much by themselves, working harder and longer hours than the players that are on the pitch to achieve their comeback as soon as possible. Franck Ribéry spoke about that situation, how grateful and how happy he is to be able to have joined the team here in Qatar. It allows you in this environment to really concentrate on the job, but also of course it automatically puts you together with your teammates, with your friends, and gives you this group feeling that a lot of injured players of course don't enjoy. In Munich the physical coaches are so busy with the majority of the team, with the fit players, that the injured players usually train at very different times, and unless they work or spend some time in the training facilities before and after training, they don't even get to really see or spend a lot of time with their teammates. So that's one of the benefits and advantages of taking the entire team along to Qatar. And again, we've already seen some of the consequences of these benefits. David Alaba in team training, Arjen Robben back in team training. I should also mention Sven Ulreich, who sustained a minor injury in the first couple of days of 2016, had to sit out for 2 or 3 days of training, but has now also returned to the team. He's one of 4 goalkeepers who are training, and overall a total of 26 players are now in full team training, with a few players, as I mentioned, Ribéry, Benatia and Götze, still injured and working on their comeback individually. One of the news here, I suppose, one of the players who has been in focus is a player who's never played for a professional Bayern Munich team. The youngest ever player to join a Bayern Munich training camp is Christian Früchtl, 15-year-old goalkeeper. We'll take a look at the goalkeepers later on as we go along and watch the upcoming exercises. He, like the 4 other youngsters that are here in this training camp, are of course also enjoying the opportunity to learn from the professional players. It's Milos Pantovic, 19-year-old reserve team player with 5 goals in 18 matches in the first half of the season. Then 17-year-olds Niklas Dorsch, Fabian Benko and Marco Friedl, and as mentioned, only 15 years old Christian Früchtl, still already 1.90 m and European shoe size 50. Matthias Sammer described his physical constitution as truly crazy, but it's not only his physique that makes him special. He's a very level-headed young man with a great talent, and the fact that Bayern Munich brought along 5 of these youth players is of course no coincidence, and is very much on purpose. Not only have these players deserved to be here, not only have these players made a good impression on Pep Guardiola, on Matthias Sammer and in the club in general, but these players are also of course a sign to every youth player at Bayern Munich that there is an opportunity to join in the professional team, that there is an opportunity to make it into the professional team, at least in training. The first team to play for Bayern Munich is of course extremely difficult considering the quality of the squad, but to take the first step is to join in this full team training. And a player like Milos Pantovic has of course already celebrated his debut, that was against Bremen in the Bundesliga. on another youth player note. You have probably, of course, already heard the news a couple of days ago already. Sinan Kurt was sold and now the confirmation came through yesterday that Gianluca Gaudino is on a loan spell in St. Gallen for 1.5 years. He has a professional contract to 2018 and will, bar any unforeseen events, join Bayern Munich after his loan spell in St. Gallen expires. So, youth players, and that is a philosophy of Bayern Munich now, as Matthias Sammer confirmed a couple of days ago already. The youth players that come through the ranks at Bayern Munich are usually not sold, but are either put out on a loan spell to different clubs, or if they are sold, then Bayern Munich has a rebuy option, as is the case with Sinan Kurt, for instance. You're watching the players with 3 groups here conducting the same exercise. It's been called a rondo, or simply a circle, here in Munich. A popular exercise not only with the Bayern players, but I think with every football player. A typical warm-up exercise that every football player who's ever been in a club knows. Let's have a look if these players can entertain us here with their skills. If you care to count in these groups or at Bayern Munich, everything above 20 contacts is considered a success for the outside players and a humiliation for whoever is in the center, and that's what keeps these players going and motivated. A player like Rafinha, Thomas Müller, those are the players who are usually most vocal and outspoken in these exercises, and it adds a level of competitiveness to the warm-up program that's very welcome with the coaches, of course. So as mentioned, you can see there's always a lot of discussions going on. Really, of course, just a warm-up exercise that we're watching here, but very important, like with all other exercises, to maintain a high level of competitiveness. And while this is in part all fun and laughter, you can see that the players are taking this seriously, that no one wants to lose the ball, that the players in the center are really going for it and try quite fiercely to get the ball. And we'll see that in later exercises as well. If you've been watching the training sessions on FC Bayern, you'll notice a couple things. First of all, if you've ever taken part in an exercise like this, the speed with which the ball is passed back and forth is really truly awe-inspiring if you've played football on an amateur level. And what you'll notice later on as we go along is that it's very rare to see an exercise repeated under Pep Guardiola exactly the same way as it's been conducted before. Pep Guardiola has commented on that a couple times in the past, as have other coaches, saying that that's maybe not one of the hardest parts of the job, but certainly a challenge for a coach to keep these exercises fun and exciting for the players on the one hand, while of course beneficial for the purpose of training. Here are some of the young players. Again, Milos Pantovic, Niklas Dorsch, Fabian Benko and Marco Friedl are the players in the circle here, with Christian Früchtl joining as the goalkeeper in Bayern Munich's training camp. Pantovic has already played for, or plays regularly for, the reserve team, while the other three play for the under-19s in the what's called A-Youth Bundesliga. We talked to them, and of course they described this as a great honor. Milos Pantovic said, we have to work for a long time and have still so much to achieve in order to reach the level our teammates here in Qatar are on. Philipp Lahm commented on the difference between generations, saying that when he was 16, 17 years old, he needed to leave the club and needed to go to Stuttgart at the time, because he said as a 16-year-old he just wasn't ready for this kind of a challenge. He said he was a little too intimidated by players like Oliver Kahn, like Stefan Effenberg. But nowadays that has changed. The football teams in general, and Bayern, and I suppose Germany, and in German football this is the case, aren't as hierarchical as they used to be. The young players, as Philipp Lahm confirmed, all enjoy the respect of the older players. They're opened with welcome arms. Philipp Lahm said, and the young players have confirmed this, that it's pretty easy to integrate here, that the players don't have to worry that they'll be in any way humiliated or in any way made fun of, and that allows them to play freely, to not worry about consequences. They're allowed to make mistakes. Everyone knows that's absolutely normal. If a 17-year-old trains with these superstars, no one expects them to play as well as someone like Thiago, Xabi Alonso, Philipp Lahm or Thomas Müller, and that lets these players well, integrate, play freely, and the consequence is that every player we've talked to has proved to be impressed with the training performances of these young lads. What's most important, and what everyone has acknowledged so far, is that the young players are willing to join in team training and to go the full length. Here on your screen we have Sebastian Rode, Thomas Müller and Kingsley Coman, who spent time in the gym. That's another one of the advantages you have here. Every player, I suppose that's not much different to Munich, but every player is treated individual here. Every player's needs are catered to individually. They spend time in one of the several gyms here at the Aspire Academy, and will continue to do so, and will, I assume at least now, join Franck Ribéry and Mehdi Benatia in a second gym, which also incorporates a training pool. But no reason to worry. Again, no injuries, at least none we're aware of in this training camp so far. We'll have tonight here at the Grand Heritage Hotel an official press conference with Pep Guardiola, which you can later see on FCB TV. At least we hope that we'll have this press conference. I had the opportunity to talk briefly with the Spanish Bayern coach yesterday, and it was pretty hard to understand him. He has a very sore throat, can hardly speak. That's probably why he's fairly quiet as of now. We'll see how loud and outspoken he'll be later on in this training session. Usually Pep Guardiola lets his coaching staff and his assistants conduct these morning training sessions where it's more about physical exercises, duels, passing, shooting exercises, and then he becomes very loud, vocal and outspoken in the evening training sessions where tactical forms and systems are trained. So I hope at least that Pep Guardiola will be able to actually speak at a press conference. It is scheduled for later today, and I'm sure he'll comment extensively on how happy or unhappy he is with this training camp. But from what we can tell so far, there's again absolutely no reason to be unhappy. All the players and the coaches we've been able to talk to have confirmed that, as always, really, the winter training camp lays and is currently still laying a good foundation for the second half of the season. Before takeoff, I remember Karl-Heinz Rummenigge also commenting on the fact that there's always a little bit of superstition in a football team, and the last couple of years were of course very successful for Bayern Munich, which is also in part the reason why the team decided to come here again. You're watching Robert Lewandowski. You might have heard that Manuel Neuer and David Alaba, or I'm sure you've heard that Manuel Neuer and David Alaba have been voted into the UEFA Team of the Year. Special honor came for Robert Lewandowski, who didn't quite make it into that UEFA team, but he was just now voted Polish Sportsman of the Year. Great achievement, not Footballer of the Year, but Sportsman of the Year. Only the third player in the history of this award to win the prestigious Sportsman of the Year award. Third football player, that is, and the first one since 1982. Before him was Zbigniew Boniek, today president of the Polish Football Association and former player of Juventus Turin and AS Roma. Lewandowski thoroughly I think deserved that, although he of course admits that in order to win this award you are absolutely dependent on your team. But he's lucky to play at Bayern Munich and for a successful Polish national team in the last year. For Bayern Munich he scored 38 goals in 51 competitive games, and that of course includes this legendary 5-goal stint, 5 goals which he scored against Wolfsburg within 9 minutes. But there's more than that. For the Polish national team he scored 10 goals in 7 games in 2015, and throughout the course of the European Championship qualification he scored 13 goals in 10 games, contributing vastly to the Polish national team qualifying for the tournament. So it's been a fantastic year for Robert Lewandowski, a fantastic year 2015. If you watch Bayern football games, and I'm sure you all do, you'll agree he's added a whole new level of play to Bayern Munich's striking option. Even if Bayern have of course enjoyed great strikers in the past, quite recently a man that was also a bit of a crowd darling, Mario Mandzukic. And Mandzukic is of course an issue for Bayern Munich right now, as they prepare not only for Hamburg, the first competitive game of 2016 on January 22nd, but they also prepare for 7 away games within the first 10 competitive games of the season. And one of these away games of course is in Italy, in Turin. Manuel Neuer talked about the fact that Bayern Munich have such a tough opponent to start with in the first knockout round of the competition, saying that he quite likes that. He quite likes the idea that you play against a team immediately that you know the players, you know the team, you know the tactics. There's nothing unknown about Juventus, and quite a few players have actually spoken about this and have said, as have, by the way, the coaches and Matthias Sammer in particular, saying that it's good for this mid-season training camp, it's good for this winter break, that the players know something big's around the corner, something really difficult, a really difficult challenge awaits them very soon. You could argue, of course, that it might be easier to play against one of the very few remaining underdogs in the Champions League competition, but we talked, for instance, to Javi Martinez yesterday, and he said, we're Bayern Munich, we want to win the tournament, and if you want to win the Champions League you have to play against every team, you have to beat every good team, and that's why you of course have to beat teams of the caliber of Juventus Turin. Warm-up program is over. As I mentioned, it's pretty hot here, 25 degrees Celsius roughly, I would estimate at least, although there is a nice little cooling wind blowing through the Aspire Academy. Players have conducted the circle exercises, have warmed up, and now let's just take a look at what the coaching staff has planned for the remaining 20 to 30 minutes or so of this training session. Let's take a look at this exercise as it unfolds at the Aspire Academy.
تحب تعمل صور.
So as you can see, I assume this doesn't require much of an explanation, a passing and shooting exercise that we can enjoy, and I hope we'll enjoy a couple of spectacular goals here. It keeps the players involved and concentrated, who have to remember which position to take up and how to move in this passing exercise. For us, I think it's a good opportunity to see some one-touch football, followed hopefully by some spectacular goals, so enjoy this exercise. As I mentioned earlier, these exercises very rarely repeat themselves. Pep Guardiola and his coaching staff always change it up a little bit, which keeps the players on the ball, keeps them interested, excited and motivated. We've had 8 training sessions so far in Doha at the Aspire Academy, and I don't think we've had any one exercise repeat itself. I'm talking, of course, not so much about these tactical exercises. There's certainly some repetitions there when the players practice again and again how to move on the pitch, how to hold their midfield lines, their back four, how to attack, press and counter press against their opposition. But in these passing, shooting exercise, sometimes one-on-one dual exercises, there's rarely a time where 2 training sessions have the exact same exercise. And even now, as you saw, after a couple of minutes, Pep Guardiola and his coaching staff move the players around, have them change positions and try hard here to never have any repetitions in these exercises. It does 2 things, as I mentioned. It keeps the players motivated, it makes it fun for the players, makes it interesting, and of course there's another benefit to these exercises. The players really have to concentrate. They have to concentrate on what they're doing, and that leads to better training performances. At least it should do. Ideally it does. I wouldn't recommend these kind of exercises if you're the coach of a 7th, 8th league amateur team, because you'll probably just have confused looks and players missing left, right and center. But here you can do it. I mentioned that I think earlier today, or in the last training session that we conducted. It's absolutely fascinating sometimes to watch the reserve team of Bayern Munich train, because they in part try to conduct the same exercises, not by far and large, but every once in a while Coach Heiko Vogel and also his predecessors did try to emulate what the professional team does, did try to incorporate some of these training exercises into their training regime, and I don't want to say that it usually fails completely, but the speed, the level of quality is so different. And again, we're not talking about run-of-the-mill Sunday pub league teams here. We're talking about ongoing professional players. We're talking about young youth talents that have been going through the Bayern Munich system, who know what they're doing, who play 4th league football, in other words, on a semi-professional level, and the differences are astonishing. Anyway, here let's see if we have another one of these exercises planned. I think in a couple minutes time these passing, shooting exercises will end, and then according to the Bayern schedule, the players are going to do what they don't necessarily love to do, and that is just run around the pitch, have some different running exercises, speed changes, speed variations. We'll stay on air for a few more minutes once they start doing that, and then slowly say goodbye from Doha. But again, we have a couple more exercises coming up, so stay tuned for a few more minutes of what I think are interesting exercises, particularly because we really haven't seen them here at Bayern before. as you just witnessed, this was another one of these don't do this at home exercises. Even on this level, a tough exercise to make the coaches happy with. Direct passing, direct chip back and a header past three very, very good goalkeepers. You might have heard the shouts of joy and elation there by some of the Bayern professionals. Getting a header past Manuel Neuer from a volley, or any of the goalkeepers here, is considered a success. And again, it's these moments where you hear the shouting and the cheering that you realize just how dedicated and devoted these players are to training. In case you're not so familiar with what actually happens at Bayern trainings, you need to realize that when we bring you these training sessions, you're only really watching, let's say, the main part of these exercises. Here's part 2 of the heading exercise. Again, one fast pass forward, direct chip back, and then a header. You're only watching a small part, really, or the major part, of course, of this exercise, but there's a lot going on behind closed doors that we're not aware of. Twice or 3 times a week, for instance, the players collectively enter the gym that can be here at the Aspire Academy. Same, of course, goes for Munich as well, where there are very modern, high-quality training facilities as well, not only outside with pitches, but also a high-tech gym. So twice or 3 times a week, the players collectively go into the gym to warm up for 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes. After these training sessions, after running sessions, the players cool off. Usually there are ice buckets or an ice cold pool for the players to cool off their legs. And this is something that the players do collectively. There are some players that, and basically I suppose you could say every player has his own individual training program. Someone like Arjen Robben, for instance, will always be at the training facilities pretty much earlier than everyone else, because he wants to warm up and prepare at great length and very extensively. Other players, for instance, require or feel the need to cool down for a little longer. Some players really spend another 10, 15, sometimes even half an hour on the pitch or in the gym after every training session to wind down, to cool off, to maybe loosen the muscles, to stretch. Then, of course, all the players enjoy extensive physical therapy. Sebastian Rode commented on that in a blog for the website this week, saying that these physical therapy sessions, these by far and large, they are very professional massages, can take up to 45 minutes per player, can be very painful indeed, but of course are extremely beneficial to these players. So when we see these players here in Doha or even in Munich train for 70, 80, sometimes 90 minutes. We have had 2-hour training sessions as well. It's only one part of what the players are actually doing. Some players do tend to spend 2 to 3 hours every day at the training facilities, and I'm talking about days with only one training session. So here you might have a player, for instance, when the 10 o'clock training session begins, you have a player begin with his warm-up program at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then he'll go into the gym with the rest of the players at 9:30, warm up there collectively as a group. Then the training sessions from 10 to, let's say, 11:30. After that, the players all go into the next gym, cool down again, sometimes use ice buckets to cool off their legs. That'll go on for 15-20 minutes. Then the players, some of them at least, will go back to the hotel, go into the gym there, get onto a bike and cycle for another half hour to basically loosen their muscles, and then go into physical therapy before they have their joint meal at usually 1 o'clock here, at least in Doha. They eat together. After that, there's a lot of massages, and then basically 2 to 3 hours later the whole thing starts all over again. So sometimes there are suggestions that these players earn a lot of money for only training for an hour or so. It is in fact very different. These players have indeed full-time jobs, and these players work pretty much day and night on doing whatever they can to be best prepared for training and for matches. Of course, a big part of that is also getting rest and getting sleep, so that they can ideally then conduct these training sessions. So again, every once in a while we try to bring you some background ideas, some background clips of what goes on in gyms behind closed doors with injured players, to give you a bit of an idea of what goes on around these training sessions. But again, when we show you this probably now 1 hour or 70-minute training session today, this is only a small part of what actually goes on during the entire day at Bayern Munich. Another popular ritual, what we're watching here, the collective humiliation of the team that did worst in these exercises. Always the most fun part, I suppose, of every training session. And again, another example of the competitiveness that goes on in these sessions. We've had players and witnessed players, even half an hour or an hour, still talk about training and still talk about the nutmegs and the goals they scored, trying to provoke, for instance, Neuer a little bit, or the goalkeeping coach saying that he should do a better job with his goalkeepers. At the other time, you have players fail to score a goal in a training session, and don't worry, no one lets them forget that either. As you can see, the players are lining up here. We're going to have another 10-15 minutes or so of running exercises. We'll see if there'll be sprinting exercises as well. We'll stay on air for another 5 minutes or so for you. I think well, I'm sure in fact that the main part of training is over. The exercise part is over. As you can see, the assistant coaches are already collecting the poles and hats again here, so you can now enjoy the Bayern stars do what every football player does in every training session, that is do nothing but run up and down the pitch and sweat at different speeds. Have a few more minutes of this fun and enjoyment, and then it's time for us to say goodbye from this training session here today. Bayern Munich have 2 more training sessions tonight and then tomorrow morning before they return to Munich, to Germany. If you would like to have some more information about the last hours here in Doha, stay tuned to our social media channels, stay tuned to our website at FTB TV. We'll have some summary reports there, we'll have some more comments and interviews for you. Thanks for watching this, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned and stay loyal to Bayern Munich. Here's to a successful second half of the football season. The foundation is being laid as we speak.
زمان ابو فرات من زمان ابو زمان يا اخوي من اتوقع اني كنت واجب الدور